The Great Debaters is based on a true story, but it is also highly fictitious, as most articles pointed out. I felt like the Wiley College Great Debaters article by Gail Beal on the Humanities Texas website did the best job of talking about the original event and what actually happened. So I'm going to be quoting that a lot throughout this video. Just starting from the beginning, the article says, Wiley College initiated intercollegiate debate among Negro institutions in the Southwest. For 10 years, the forensic representatives of the college went undefeated. Now, in the film, in 1935, the first competition that James Farmer Jr. competed at, the team lost. So that doesn't quite match up with the facts historically, because for the first 10 years they didn't lose at all. Pi Kappa Delta is the forensic, which is debate, a fraternity, and the article mentions that it dictated policies for all colleges, but it was a segregated organization. And because Pi Kappa Delta was segregated, Wiley College was not able to receive the title of national champions after beating the University of Southern California, who at the time were the national champions. A little thing the article mentioned that I thought was interesting was that Tolson called Henrietta Bell simply Bell, so he just called her by her last name. And this was also the case with Samantha Book, Samantha Book in the film is loosely based off of Henrietta Bell, who was one of the actual debaters at Wiley College, and generally Tolson just called her Book in the film. So I thought it was interesting that they left that little detail in. In the movie, it shows that they started debating white colleges in 1935, which is the setting of the movie. But in actuality, by the spring of 1930, when his team was ready to go on tour, Tolson decided it was time to break new ground. Somehow, he managed to schedule a series of non-decision debates with law students of the University of Michigan, an all-white institution. Michigan was not the only white team Tolson's team encountered that year. So, Wiley College actually started debating white schools 5 years before said in the film. One of the biggest differences, I think, between actual historical fact and the film was that Wiley College never debated Harvard. In the movie, they're shown debating Harvard for the national championships, but they actually debated the University of Southern California for this championship. And as the article points out, no evidence suggests a debate with Harvard ever happened. So it wasn't even just they didn't debate them for the national championships. They didn't debate Harvard at all. So I thought that was a big difference, but in some articles I read that it was added in to make it seem more difficult for Wiley to have won, because Harvard is so renowned now. Tolson and his team of Farmer, Jarrett, and Heights scheduled a sojourn through the Southwest. The big occasion, which is the debate against Southern California, came the night of April 22nd, 1935, before an audience of 2,200 at Southern California's Bovard Auditorium. And in the film, Tolson sends the team off on their own because he is stuck in Texas, not able to leave the state because of his work with the Southern Tenant Farmers, which were a group that was trying to end segregation. So he didn't travel with them, and historically he did travel with them. He didn't get into that trouble with the law and was able to leave the state if he wanted to. The most powerful moment I felt during the film was when James Farmer Jr. was debating and he started talking about the lynching they saw. The team saw when they were competing, or either on their way to or from a competition. I cannot remember which. But the article points out that Farmer, a freshman at the time, was an alternate and observer at the Southern California debate, so he didn't participate at all. And if Samantha book was, as I stated previously, loosely based on Henrietta Bell, but Henrietta Bell was not actually part of the debate team. In 1935, she had already finished college and moved on, so she's not actually a part of that team. In the film, the team comes across a lynching, and their mob is still there, standing underneath the burning body, and they're chased down the road. And in the article it talks about one of their actual experiences with lynching. One of the debate students says, African American teams faced one obstacle never encountered by their white counterparts. Almost every debater during this period either observed or was threatened with lynching. Jarrett's experiences occurred on the way to Memphis. The Wiley debaters are on the road, and the road leads through the tremendous circle of mobsters. But there's a mulatto in the car. Coach Tolson tells him to take the steering wheel. The darker debaters and Tolson, who had a dark complexion, get down in the car. The night is friendly, protecting. The mulatto salutes nonchalantly at the grim-faced members of the mob, allaying their suspicions. And the debaters reach Memphis and read about the mob in the morning newspapers. So they really did come across a mob and face the threat of lynching. And that was just a common thing in that time that they always had to be wary about. Another thing they put in the film that matched up with the historical accuracy was Tolson's activism. In the film, he works with the Southern tenant farmers to end segregation, and the article talks about a time when Tolson was to make a commencement address for a high school graduation. In it, he exhorted to the audience on the implications of lynching. The previous day, 4 African Americans in a nearby town. Tolson ended the speech with, "Where were you good folks when these men were lynched?" Bell said the sheriff, chief of police, and several members of the school board, all white, were in the audience. So, even though Tolson, it was dangerous to say that, he still stood up for what he believed in and fought against segregation and lynching that was going on. And then something that really surprised me when I was watching the movie was that Tolson wrote the students' debates for them. But in the article it says that Tolson was an extremely skilled debater. Tolson found the cracks in other debaters' cases, was the one plotting the debate strategy, according to Farmer. The Wiley team simply memorized his arguments and wrote them on file cards they could pull out to meet a point made by an opponent. Tolson was so good at finding holes in the logic for others, his debaters rarely had to do it on their own. So Tolson was able to find pretty much every argument that could be thought of to counter a point. And so he wrote the students' debates and just left them note cards so that they could look it up and know what to say. There were a few other things that were changed. Most of what was changed was the drama. I couldn't find a lot of details on the actual interactions between debaters, but I mean, obviously, Henrietta Bell, who is real life inspiration for Samantha Book, was not part of the 1935 team, so the relationship kind of love triangle-ish thing between Henry Lowe, Samantha Book, and James Farmer Jr. could not have happened. And then a lot of the other drama things, like I found no evidence of Tolson being a part of the Southern Tenant Farmers group. But, I mean, overall, I felt like they did change a lot from what actually happened, but it was also to make it more powerful and more moving to the audience.